The Modi government took the first steps to privatize the coal sector back in 2018 when it said that private players would be allowed to auction for coal blocks. After that, in August this year, the government announced that 100% foreign direct investment would be allowed in the coal sector, which has workers from coal mines up in arms. They say that India's natural resources should not be handed out to foreign players, and their strike today will cost India the production of over 2 million tons of coal.
We think this is an attack on the strategic coal sector. We cannot let the country's natural resources, which belong to the public, fall into the hands of private enterprise so that they can earn profits. We cannot permit this.
The government is privatizing the sector and giving it away to foreign companies, which will lead to job losses for Indian workers.
The workers here say that Coal India in the long term will lose its pricing power that it currently holds monopoly over, and they'll also lose customers to private players. The government, on the other hand, says that coal production will be enhanced if foreign players come into play, and that it will help create a more efficient and more competitive coal market. The government also says that its import bill, which is roughly around $26 billion annually when it comes to coal imports, will be cut down. All these reasons are something that the workers don't buy into.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Sridhar in Bengaluru in India. He's an associate editor at the current affairs magazine Frontline. Welcome to the program, Sridhar. Obviously, there's a lot of fear among workers in India's coal industry. Can you tell us more about the changes that the Modi administration has imposed?
Well, to go back some 50 years, when for the first time the government nationalized the coal industry, going back to that period, there was the way coal mining was done was what is called slaughter mining. That is not caring for the ecology in which the mines were situated, nor for if you look at the Indian mining industry, most of it is concentrated in the very extremely poor states where there's a large tribal population which depend on the forest resources in which these mines are located. So this is the context in which mines were nationalized in India. I mean, there was a lot of corruption, there was a lot of mismanagement. Safety was almost non-existent in these times, and that is the reason why these mines were nationalized. Now we are going back to 50 years back. That is my reading of inviting private players. And mind you, the public sector produces, to correct a figure that was mentioned earlier, the public sector companies in India, that the government-owned, state-owned companies, produce actually 92% of the coal that is produced in India. This is apart from Coal India, there are a couple of smaller public sector companies which account for this 92%. So this is the context in which, and the fears that arise now are exactly those fears that arose 50 years ago.
Interesting. So do you think as a result of opening up the sector to foreign players, could that risk current coal mining jobs across India?
It's not just a question of jobs. Jobs is one, and as I mentioned, the ecology is a very major thing. All over the Western world, all over the industrialized world, they have moved away from coal, and so they are looking for opportunities in countries like India and the developing world where they can relocate. And if you look at the global mining companies, of the top 10, the top 3 are Glencore, BHP, and one more,
Rio Tinto.
And Rio Tinto. Yes, and so these are really at the top. I mean, if you look at their earnings in 2018, for instance, they earned about $680 billion, and they paid a net tax, effective tax of 3.95%, which is ridiculously low. So when they come to India, they would expect that same deal, which means that the Indian government will have to forego much more to these foreign players. And that's one part of it. It's not just jobs, it is how they extract the mineral resources without any care for the ecology or for the tribal livelihoods. That's actually the more important issue. It's not just about the jobs of those currently employed in the mining industry, but also for the long term interests of people living in in and around these mines.
So do you see Narendra Modi perhaps imposing some strict restrictions, I guess, for the foreign companies who do want to invest in the coal sector?
That would be difficult because the Indian coal. That brings me to another issue with Indian coal. Indian coal is not of very great quality. It's supposed to have high ash content, and in the about 20 years ago, Indian public sector electricity generating companies, as well as power equipment manufacturers, again in the public sector, were developing technologies which could use this low grade coal. After all, India has something like 319 billion tons of reserves,
Yes.
and at the current rate of extraction of, say, 700 billion tons, they can last about anything up to 400 years. So
Okay.
that's a lot of coal. That's a lot of coal that needs to be intelligently harvested over a long period of time and maximizing the gains from that.
Okay.
And
I'm very sorry, Mr. Sridhar. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you for joining us on the program and sharing with us your insights.